So, what does Stetson Bennett have to do to play better and get better? That's something Kirby Smart talked about this week. I've got that for you right now, and let me read it to you. The first goal was to do a better job of protecting the ball in terms of two hands while in the pocket while also running. If you've noticed, he had one hand against Alabama and he scooped it up. He was talking about a fumble there that Georgia did not turn over. He runs the ball with one. He runs with the ball in one hand. We have made an assertive effort to improve that. Second was the decision making on downfield throws and check downs. Now, I'm just going to stop for a second. This is something that Georgia fans have talked about a lot. The third thing was putting us in the right play and making good decisions. He has worked really hard on those things. Some of the movement in the pocket, which is awareness. I thought he could learn. I thought that he could learn a lot from Jake Fromm in terms of pocket awareness. Where are the holes in the pockets? Where's the rush? Where can he step up? I think he's done well with that. It's hard to simulate that because we don't play games in the off week. We try to do that on with competitive third down and pass periods. Georgia's actually been pretty good on third down this year, and that a lot of the reason why is because of Stetson Bennett. Dean Legge from Dog Post, making you a smarter Georgia fan. So I do want to delve into this a little bit. And as a person who played sports in college, I can assure you that you know, you can get better as you go on. You can't get taller. It's harder to get faster. You can do that to some degree, but you can't. There are some physical things you cannot do and get better at. But the whole point of practice is to get better and to have a competitive atmosphere so that everyone is being pushed. And everything Kirby talked about right there is important. I mean, any quarterback should have two hands on the ball while they're in the pocket. That's just all there is to it. Someone as small as Stetson is, 100% should have two hands on the ball the entire time. Joe Burrow did Heisman Trophy winner from last year, first round pick, massive guy, huge hands. Almost all the time you watch Joe Burrow play, he had two hands on the ball moving around. Why is that important? Does it mean that you don't ever fumble? No, but it cuts it down pretty good. And if you had three hands, you'd put three hands on the ball. The ball is the most important thing in football. If you do not possess it, you cannot score. Unless it's a safety. So it's something that you really have got to work on. Those really are fundamentals. And when you watch the way that Stetson's played this year, his feet give him the ability to make more plays. And that's one part of playing quarterback. That's one of many parts playing quarterback. But if you don't take care of the small stuff, particularly stuff like two hands on the ball in the pocket, and really two hands on the ball unless you're kind of like sprinting, then you're standing a chance of having some issues. That could have been catastrophic when Stetson fumbled that ball. He picked it right up, but that was a third down. If you don't fumble right there, you got a chance to pick it up on third down. Someone can correct me on that. I'm pretty certain that was a third down. So other than that, that's kind of particular to talk about. But one thing that you go into, guys, no one on this team has been through an undefeated season before. So they have all experienced what it's like to lose. And they all know what it's like to win. Practices really don't change after you've won or lost. And if they're changing in a way that's really sort of dramatic, there's probably something really going on wrong. So in off weeks, you're trying to narrow down what you're trying to do and, see, can this guy do this better? Can this guy, are we going to give him looks with the ones? That's all stuff that Kirby talked about this week at Georgia, was that the other quarterbacks worked in there. It wasn't just Stetson with the ones. But he's, folks got to understand and come to the realization that Stetson is going to be the quarterback. Until he's not. They're not going to just swap him out because they lost at Alabama. He cannot continue to turn the ball over three times. I don't remember a lot of people after Jake Fromm turned it over three times against South Carolina last year talking about benching him and putting Stetson in. I remember when he played terribly at LSU, people were saying, let's put Justin Fields in. And I was one of the people that said, hey, Justin's got to get more snaps. Well, that didn't happen against Florida, and Jake Fromm played his best game of the year. You don't want Stetson playing his best game of the year against Kentucky. But what you do want is to see progression. And that you are playing and will probably win doesn't mean that there's nothing to learn during this run-up to this game, and there's nothing to be gained from playing in the game. I mean, Kentucky's defense is, I would call it solid. A lot of people think it's one of the better ones in the league. I don't know. I mean, Georgia's just so dominating. It's hard to really put them on the same level as anyone else. But when you're in a college practice, and I mean, I played basketball and tennis in college. So what I'm talking about really more than anything is, you lose a game that you wanted to win. It was an important game, a ranked win on the road, or you lose at home as a ranked team. That happened to us once. And, the sky hasn't fallen. You just did dumb stuff. I mean, that's what happens. Or you didn't execute, or they didn't allow you to execute. All these things, or sometimes all of those things happen at the same time. And the biggest thing is that there are things that you can adjust during the season. There are things that you can get better at as an athlete, coaches too. I've never been a college coach, clearly. But that paragraph there of what Kirby said is important, because no college player is a finished product. Very few NFL guys are. So this is about getting better by the day, or by the drill, by the rep, whatever it is. If they already know, and I'm sure they did, that these were some of the issues with him, the checkdowns were there. I mean, everybody watching this knows that the checkdowns were there. Checkdowns were there for Fromm at times, and he missed them. I remember a Texas A&M game, DeAndre Swift wide open for a touchdown, and Jake just missed it. He didn't see it. So everybody's a quarterback critic, particularly after they lose, and there's nothing wrong with that, because quarterbacks can always play better. But talking about it's one thing, but substantively doing something about it is the part that this is up to Stetson, and it's up to the coaching staff. Now, Stetson doesn't need to do this for anybody but himself. That sounds selfish, and what I mean by that is doing it for Georgia or your family or all this stuff that we hear sometimes. You got to do it for you. And you got to be motivated to do it for you. This isn't about your glory, but the way you play determines if the team wins or loses. You don't have to be a hero. You don't have to do too much. In fact, a lot of development is not doing too much, is going and making the appropriate play and then ending the drive with a punt or a kick, one of the two, something where the specialists touch the ball with their foot. Those are almost always good results, particularly for Georgia. And if Georgia can work on those things with Stetson, if they cannot ask him to throw the ball 40 times in a game, if they can commit to the run more, and frankly, if they can have more offensive plays, those are all the parameters by which they'll get this right. I do want to talk just for a second about if you'll see another quarterback against Kentucky. Right after the Alabama game, I felt pretty sure that we would see that. I don't know that we won't, but this game, the offense is going to go. The offense is going to be quarterbacked by Stetson Bennett. You could see Mathis in there a little bit. You could see JT Daniels in there a little bit. We've not seen him play at all this year. Carson Beck, I don't know, because he's so young. But nothing would surprise me as far as who the number 2 quarterback coming in for Georgia will be. But what I'm saying is, unless there's an injury or unless the bottom falls out in the game, I don't see there being a move that gets made. I also don't think that means that Kirby's made a mistake. I just think that's what it is right now. And if there's a time to make a change that's appropriate in the future, But just because you lose a game and a kid plays poorly, for instance, I mean, this is not apples to apples thing, but you know, in 2006 with Matthew, he could not have played worse against Kentucky. He could not have played worse. And then 7 days later, for them to shock number 5 Auburn, and really from that point forward, from the moment they got to the locker room after the Kentucky game and having the goalpost ripped down on him and everything, Matthew was never the same after that. He was moving forward was the guy that people remember at Georgia. They don't remember the beginning of 2006. People will always remember this with Stetson because it was out the game at Alabama. But what he has in front of him is the ability to create a new history, a new reality. And it's up to him, the coaching staff, and the players. And they have to do it for themselves, and that's it. They don't owe anything to anybody. They don't owe it to me. They don't owe it to you. They don't owe it to their television partners. It's up to them. And they got it all in front of them. That's the good news for them. The good news for you is that you can sign up for our newsletter. It's right there. You see it? It's awesome. You'll get once a day, pretty much, a whole newsletter of what we write inside our newsletter. It's really good. Dean Legge from Dog Post, making you a smart Georgia fan. Easy enough for me to say. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the website.